Welcome to Sister Talk Real Talk, a show where real women discuss real issues. My name is Monique, and I have the honor and the pleasure of being your host every week. On this show, I provide women with information, insights, and perspectives that I hope will enlighten, challenge, and encourage you to live your best life and to walk in your purpose. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. Hello, and thank you for joining me for this episode of Sister Talk Real Talk. Again, my name is Monique, and I am your host, and I am so glad you took time out of your day to join me. So, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for all of your comments and feedback and messages and all of the posts and things that I've been receiving regarding Sister Talk Real Talk and the topics. And the thing that I keep hearing is that you actually like the dialogue between myself and guests, in particular my guest that I've had, JC. So we're trying to make this a little bit more consistent where he's able to come on the show and give some insights. It's almost like a he said, she said kind of dialogue that's going on back and forth. But I wanted to talk to you. We've been talking a lot about relationships and different things, and we talked about relationship threats. And one of the threads that we talked about in one of our previous podcasts, I think it was podcast 8 or 9, we talked about dealing with past hurts. It kind of came up as a side topic, and we really wanted to dig into it and dive into it. When you're in a relationship with someone who has experienced past hurts, and you know what, if you live long enough, if you're around long enough, that's going to happen. It's just going to happen. You're going to be with someone that has been through something in a relationship, that has been hurt or suffered a loss, whether it's hurt because, it was a severe breakup, whether there was cheating, whether there may have been some kind of emotional or physical abuse, or whether someone died and passed away, someone had to move away, there was some separation, there were family dynamics, in-law issues, blended family issues, you name it. There are things that can cause hurts that you were in from previous relationships. And what do you do? How do you deal with past hurts when you're in a relationship with someone who hasn't worked through it all? Should you stay or should you walk away? So here in the studio again today to join me and to have this conversation, mine from the female perspective and his from the male perspective, is my guest, JC. JC, welcome back. Hey, you got me in a lot of trouble last time, but welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. Thank you, listeners. I appreciate the fact that you value from the male perspective on Sister Talk Real Talk. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, you've gotten me in a lot of trouble, but I ventured to have him back again. And I'm just joking when I say that. When I say a lot of trouble, what I mean is it's the point of Sister Talk Real Talk, is to have real conversations and dialogue about real life stuff, relationship things, life things that sometimes people don't really want to tackle, but we all face. And so being able to have this male perspective and some insight is a way of being able to bring more information and to spawn more conversations amongst you guys. So thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Keep the information coming. Keep the questions, the comments coming. You guys are funny. You are insightful. And you help us understand how we can how I can better serve my podcast community and listeners on the type of information they want to hear. And I think most people, like I said, if you've lived long enough, you've been hurt, but also dealt with someone who is still dealing with past hurts, and I think if we're honest, sometimes most of us are or have been in a relationship where we are dealing with those things. And sometimes that is so severe in the person that you're in a relationship with and the person that you love. Let's see, for a woman, for me, in that man's life, that it shows up in different ways, that the question comes up, do I stay? Do I work with him through it? Or is it time for me to walk away because he's got to do some healing on his own? And with that, JC, let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, let's name some. I listed a bunch of different things, but what are some of the most common past hurts for men that are difficult for them to get over?
So let me ask you a question, okay? So basically, is this a new relationship? Or is this something new that you've discovered amongst this relationship that you've been engaged in? Is it like for over like 6 months into a relationship, you realize that she still has this resentment or past hurt, or he still has this past hurt? There's so many different factors here. Whereas if she has a past hurt. Say she was in an abusive relationship.
Okay,
From
that's a
the
good one.
man, from the no, she was an abuse. She was abused,
Okay,
whether verbally, physically, emotionally,
sexually.
and the yeah, I didn't want to go there. But so the guy is like, okay, it, how much do I like this female? Or I mean, is she really worth it? Is she the one? Or
Okay, wait. Or what? Finish your thought.
or man, I'm only gonna be here for for just a minute. I'm just a season guy. I'm not the reason guy. You know.
Oh, that sounds like another topic: the season guy versus the reason guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it depends. Those are factors that you have to weigh in on. So like I'm saying, there's different. Most guys, we don't want to deal with no extra emotional baggage. It's like, I mean, if I have emotional baggage myself, and I'm honest with myself, then I'm gonna be like, you know what? If she could put up with my mess, I'm definitely gonna put up with hers. But there is a point where in a new relationship, most guys would be like, you know what, this is too much for me. This is beyond my pay grade. I'm gonna have to let the next guy come deal with this. I'm not dealing with it. It's too much. And that's the emotional crying, because of the past. Like most guys, excuse me, as a man, we do not like to be punished for what the guy before us has done. And that normally happens.
Okay, and I've heard this before. See, here you go. You're going to get me in trouble again. You just did. Because women are going to be like, we're not punishing you. I've heard this before. Let me see if I can bring some clarity to men, at least from a woman's perspective about that. And then I really want you to bring some clarity to women as to why you use that word, because I've heard it before. She's punishing me for what the guy did before. You men feel like you're being punished. From a woman's perspective, okay, I'm going to keep it real. So if a woman's been emotionally, you said the scenarios that she's been abused. One of the biggest things for a victim of abuse is not feeling like it's her fault, that she somehow deserved it. Whether you're male or female, psychologically, what the abuser does is they teach and they train the victim, the person that they're abusing, that they deserve this kind of treatment, that it's their fault. Why'd you make me hit you? If only you would do this, then I wouldn't have to do this to you. When a woman comes out of that and she has been broken, there's a breaking that happens in that abuse. And she finally gets to herself to a point, whether she's gone to counseling, she's worked things out, she's, whether it's church or whatever she does to be able to work through it. Hopefully she's done some of that. And she gets to a point where she's willing not to just date, right? Not to just go out and just date and just hang out, but where she's looking to be in a committed relationship again. It takes a lot for her to do that.
Right. But she should finish the process before engaging in another relationship.
Okay. And here's another thing. There are things, and psychologists will tell you this, that there are things that will only come up, and I'm putting on my coaching and psychological type indicator and all of those things. I'm putting on that hat now. There are things that don't you don't even know are there until you're in a relationship and they come up. Now, come on, be honest. Haven't you ever been in a relationship and something happens and something comes up and you're like, you surprise yourself because you don't even realize that's still there?
Yeah, those are called triggers.
Yes, exactly. And you don't know what they are sometimes until someone pulls one.
Most guys, we're really in it for the sex.
I can't believe you just said that.
And
what if you're not getting any sex? There are women that I know like myself.
That's the thing. Because you're not getting the sex up front, you're planning on getting it later. So how much work do I have to put in? How much of this past hurt stuff do I have to... It's a minefield. How much can I negotiate? Can I navigate my way through? Because every time I step on a minefield, oh, there's something that the last guy did, the abusive guy did to her, then I have to deal with.
But wait. What you just said makes it sound really callous. What you just said makes it sound like men don't really care about women. All they care about is, no, you're
trying to categorize this.
No. I'm telling you what you said. All you care about is the sex.
Most men, we really just want the sex.
When I say you, I mean you as men.
Yeah, most men.
All you care,
but
all
it's
men
not
care about.
No, you said
most
all men.
Okay, well, most men.
We just want to smash. That's all we want to do. And so that when you talk to a woman, most men are not going to talk to a woman that's not physically appealing to them. And in your mind, if you can't visualize, oh yeah, I'm definitely smashing that.
So are you telling me that you don't really care about the overall that men don't care about the overall well-being?
Some men. Because there's a lot of my shallow brothers out there that look.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
It's all about getting
me on the phrasing. Let me say this: is it what you're saying is that some men or most men aren't really investing in the overall well-being of the woman, and it's more just about them getting their own self-gratification? Or their own gratification through the woman.
Some men may be in it for the long haul for the relationship. Some brothers are in it just for the conquer.
Okay, so how can you tell?
Score.
How can
you can't tell. I mean, it really depends on the man, the type of men that she attracts. No, it's like it's like a lottery. You know, you play your numbers and you hope you pick the right one. You hope that what you got is the right one. You know, so if the guy, if he's not really into you, if he's only into you for a season, then so be it. You know, hey, I'll meet you at a bar, at a club or something. You know, I get to know you. If we're not going to smash on the first date, you know what I'm saying? But I still want to see you. It's cool.
Okay.
But hold on, let me finish. I'm getting to my point.
All right.
So, you know, we don't smash on the first date, but I like you, and I definitely want to smash that. So I'm gonna keep the dialogue open. And a couple of days, weeks pass, and we're talking, and we figure out, you know what? Kind of like the company with this woman, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to invest a little more into her. I haven't gotten what I initially wanted from her first, but I like her. Let me do a little more research on her. You know, spend a little more time with her. Oh, I really like her. You know what? I think I'm going to make her my girlfriend. We haven't smashed yet. Then, boom, a trigger comes up. You know, something from her past relationship. The abusive guy did something. You know, he picked up a frying pan and he swung towards her. And the new guy could be in the kitchen cooking her breakfast, you know, and picked up a frying pan and she sees the frying pan and kind of like stops, you
Almost
know.
like a PTSD thing.
You know, it's like basically like that, you know. That's the moment right then and there, you know, where some guys may classify that as an early out. Like, wait a moment. She's borderline crazy. She, you know, with this emotional baggage. Do I want to deal with this? Or do I use this as an early out?
So define an early out.
An early out is an easy exit out of a relationship.
That you're not too sure you want to be in the first place.
Correct.
Or you don't want to work too hard to have to be in.
Right. Now, some of the factors of the early out could be, have you smashed that or not?
Yeah, but sometimes they have. I really would have preferred us to have sex because smashing just sounds so.
This is 2017. Hey, that's the term that we use.
Okay, so a lot of guys though, if they've had sex with a woman, this early out too, they leave. They're like, okay, I got it. Next.
Well, so no. They may have got the sex, they may have smashed. But they like it. You know what? Oh man,
I know
we're sexually compatible.
Do you know how many women I know that have been going out with the guy? They're on the fifth date. They're on the other stuff. I have my own personal preference. I'm like, you shouldn't be giving it up anyway, because if you're looking for something real and he really is real, he will stick around. Tell me, without elaborating, true or not?
There's so many other
Variables. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So, but do you know how many women have said after he gets some, he disappears? I've heard it over and over and over again.
Well, you've heard it because you talk to women, but from the man's point, this happens to guys.
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm not sure what day and age we're currently in right now, but some of you women out there are cold pieces. I mean, cold pieces. You women don't want to put up with a guy with past hurts, and most women just want a guy to just, they want to smash a dude, and then that's it. They out.
So, okay, I really need to... Are we talking in general from what you know and your experiences, or is it broader than that? Your experiences...
It's broader.
And why do you say that?
Because guys don't like that type of girl.
What type of girl?
Like the one night stand girl. It's like, because guys, us men, we have emotions.
You like to be the one night. You like it if you choose that you want to be the one night stand with her. You don't like it if you actually like her and she uses you as a one night stand.
Yep, the control.
So again, it's that double-edged sword.
The control thing is cold, and nowadays it's becoming more apparent that women are liberated enough to where they don't want to deal with the dating boyfriends. They may find a guy at the club or at the bar and smash that night, and they don't call. Give him a fake phony number.
Yeah, I know there's a radio show that actually has a fake number, a fake line that that people use and give it to people, and then people call and leave messages, and they play back the crazy messages on there.
I mean, yeah. So like,
and a lot of it is men calling women trying to get a hold of them.
Yeah. So as far as going back to the show's topic, past hurts, when the guy hits that trigger, and it's not like we do it on purpose. We don't know what triggers you, but
right.
when we do trigger you with that past hurt, most guys, we get nervous first and foremost, because first we feel that it's our fault that you're not right.
You're
as
hurting.
We say
That we're hurting.
That, man, I brought this past memory up without even knowing, and depending on how she responds to the trigger may determine if I want to stick around or not.
Okay, so let me do it from a women's perspective. Men also have past hurts, and they also have triggers. Let's say you're with a man and he was cheated on before. That's his trigger. That's his past hurt. We may see a man, sometimes it's hard to tell, is this just a man that's been hurt before? Or is he controlling? Because he can show sometimes scary, sometimes borderline, it may seem like controlling tendencies. Your cell phone, you're this, you're that, where are you, what's going on? Calling you all the time, feeling like he's checking up on you when you're doing stuff and not around him. And you've talked about it and you know that, but I've talked to women, it's the same thing where women evaluate and say, first of all, again, the woman goes back to being safe. Is this a red flag that this person is controlling? Or you've talked about it and you know that he has these past hurts and you call him on it and you sit down and have a conversation about it. But again, it's that evaluating, and I think it really goes to being able to assess and evaluate the emotional maturity of that person and their ability to be able to work through things. And I think that analysis comes from being able to have conversations. This is where you really need to talk to people and you get to know people. Before, I'm just going to say this because, it's my show, but it is. I'm going to say this. Look, ladies, I can't speak for men, but let me talk to you ladies. I come from a background of waiting. of waiting to be with that man until you're married to be able to, because listen, oh, the look on his face. But listen, here's the thing. If you really think about it, having sex with a man is the most intimate thing and most vulnerable thing that we can do as women. Let's just keeping it real. That act of him joining with you, I'm trying to keep it as PG as possible. It's probably more like PG-14 right now. But that act, in and of itself, exposes you emotionally. It exposes you mentally. It exposes you spiritually. And physically, it could even be life-threatening for you. It exposes you. So before you decide you're going to let him in like that, this may sound old school, but this is just really logical. It's like, okay, you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I trust this man, to be alone in my house. You may not trust him to be alone in your house, but you trust him to be inside you. You wouldn't trust him with your bank account number, but you trust him with your life. And once you think about that for a second, I will say this, in that you should get to know somebody. You should get to understand their character. I believe, and it even shows psychologically, if you listen to someone long enough and you listen to their past relationships and you talk to them about their past relationships, their dynamics with their family, their friends, they begin to tell you, if you listen and pay attention, a deeper story about who they are, how they deal with conflict, whether or not they take ownership for their own stuff, if they work through their issues and their challenges, or if they typically remain stuck. Now, we all have areas in our life where we may need to get unstuck or we need improvement. But if you're dealing with someone, whether it's male, if it's a man, this is analysis goes for women as well, whether it's male or female, if you're dealing with someone where every story that they say and they talk about in their relationships, and I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, where it's always somebody else's fault. You don't ever hear them take ownership of, this is my part in it. That's a pretty big indicator that, one, they are not being real. They don't self-evaluate, and they don't own their stuff. So the probability of them being able to work through some of their past hurts and issues is not really high, because in order to do that, you have to be real with yourself and you have to be willing to do that self-evaluation. Now, the second thing is that once you evaluate that, evaluate how they talk about even their hurts. Will they share it with you? Will they have that conversation with you? Can they be vulnerable with you? Third, ask them the question. Do you think you're at a place right now where you can trust? It's deep. It's a simple question, but there's an answer. And you're not just looking about them saying, oh, yeah, baby, yeah, I can trust you. No, it's that really? So then you ask the next question. So how did you manage to get to being at a place where you can trust now after you were hurt like that and cheated on? If they can't tell you how they got there, they're not there, because they don't even know where there is.
So you're basically telling them to run from this past hurt, run, because they haven't graduated through.
Oh, you're telling the individual to run? No, I'm saying I'm giving them some ways where they can analyze this person and those past hurts. Is it somebody that you can work with? What happens if you're willing enough to kind of stick around? Take a little time and see what happens the next time they're triggered. Is it better? Do you have to call them on it, or do they recognize it and say, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I realize. Because that's also an indication of growth. If they can recognize it, then they're beginning to understand what triggers them and why, and the things that they need to work through. All right, JC, you
I'm
got
not
this.
saying anything, because you just laid out the guide for people to run. Well, most guys,
To run? What do you mean, to walk away from the situation?
Most guys will walk away, because that's a lot of work for a man. That's a lot of emotional work that I'm gonna be honest with you. Most guys, we're emotionally lazy. We really don't want to. We want football, food, and fun. So
Okay, but I'm sorry.
when we
I
have
feel
to,
like you're insulting some of the men I
I
know
am not insulting
because
them, but most
there are
men
the
want
men
football,
that I
fun, and
know.
food. And the fact that
But the
if
men that I know, they're deeper than that. They're
most
not as
men,
shallow.
most men don't want to put that much work in if they don't see a reward at the end. And it's like,
Isn't there some reward? Aren't some men actually looking for love? Don't
yes,
they want to
some
be in
men
a
are.
relationship?
Some
Not
men
just
are.
sex,
Some
not
men
just
are.
getting the cookie.
Some men are. But the fact that in general, men are like, we're like water. We travel the path of least resistance.
Okay, but then there's some men that you run into. Let's go back to, is she, what did you say, the one?
Yeah, if she's the one that we believe in our heart, then we'll crawl through the burning sands of the earth to do whatever it takes for her.
And that being the one for a man can be different. It's different for what that looks like can be different for every man.
You're right.
Just like
Correct.
it's different for every woman. Okay. So if she's not the one,
We're definitely running. We're looking for an early out. Now,
but
that
then I
may
want
be,
but then I want that man to run.
but that might be a trigger right there. You're like, wait a moment. I done something, I triggered her, past hurt, and now she's flipping out. She's really totally wigging out to where I'm like, wait a moment. She's crying hysterically. She's throwing shoes and plates and everything. You know what? I'm going to have to stage left. Mm-hmm. I didn't sign up for this.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. If the dude is flipping out,
Mm-hmm.
the women should run. If they don't want to put up with it, if they don't want to put the work in.
Well, what I'm trying to help people evaluate is how to assess whether or not the probability is that they're wasting their time, right? And some of the indicators that I'm talking about is sometimes you don't know. Now, if a man is just looking for something easy, for something fun, if a woman is at a place where she wants something real, she wants that guy to run anyway. Because ultimately, if he doesn't want to put in the work, relationships are work. Newsflash, hello, they're work. And you know why relationships are work? It's really amazing how God set this up. Most people end up becoming their best selves because of relationships, good and bad. Relationships are like a mirror that's held up to you constantly, and particularly, marriage and serious relationships that let you see yourself for who you are. A lot of times the issues aren't so much about the other person, it's about our own selves, our own stuff. And sometimes you can't see that until you're in that relationship and that hall of mirrors of the relationship are facing you and you're turning around looking and you see yourself.
So basically, if you're honest with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll be more honest with the person you're trying to be with.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
To thy own self be true.
Most men, well, I'm not going to say most, some men aren't honest with themselves.
People
some
aren't honest with
adults
themselves.
aren't honest with themselves.
Yeah, let me tell you, women aren't honest with themselves.
And that's a high probability of putting on your track shoes and doing
Women
a dash.
aren't honest with us. Women lie. Women lie to ourselves all the time. They say things like, "Oh, I'm fine with just being, a friend with benefits and all this other stuff," or "I'm fine with that," knowing good and well. And I'm sure you've heard stories, or you may know, where women agree to certain terms of casual relationships and then flip out and get upset because what they really wanted was something more and they thought they were going to change the man's mind. Women, newsflash, men will tell you, let me say this, men will tell you, if you ask them, they will tell you, unless they're a player and trying to run game, and that's a whole nother podcast for you to be able to identify that. But if they're a guy and they're not a player and they're not trying to run game, but they're not looking for something serious, they'll tell you. Tell me if I'm wrong. Guys will tell you.
We're up front.
If she says, I'm really looking for something serious, or I'm looking to get married, and the guy might be like, yeah, I'm not looking for anything too serious right now, or I'm just online profiles. I'm just looking for friends. That translates to, I don't want to be committed to anybody right now. I just want to have some fun.
Yeah, it's when I want to smash and run.
So, really, if you're dealing with a man that is looking for a serious relationship, ask him, first of all, what is it you want? And tell him what you want, because that'll eliminate a lot of it. But if it's a guy that wants to run, there's this fine line, right, of doing the work yourself And then getting to a point where you've done as much as of the work as you possibly can do until you're actually in that committed relationship. That's that mirror that brings those triggers up for you to deal with that remaining, let's say 20% of it. Now that remaining 20% may be some tough stuff, but it's really being honest with yourself. And maybe instead of putting it on the other person, the solution is that trigger happens, male or female. Again, be honest with yourself and step back and go, am I ready? Am I at a point where I'm ready to deal with this? Now that I know it's here, can I deal with this without hurting and ruining and extremely negatively impacting the other person? Or is the loving, kind, selfless thing to do for me to walk away from that person and to work on me until I'm at a point where I'm ready to be in that relationship? Or it may be you have a conversation with the person and you say, I know I'm ready to be in a committed relationship, but I have this stuff to work on. I've done that. I have these things that I know that I need to work on. Part of that is in the midst of the relationship, I know that I will have to work through them and give them the opportunity. That's being aware and it's being real. What do you say, JC? Last few words here.
Well, as far as being in a relationship and you hit a trigger, most guys want to be the captain, save a hero. You want to save the girl, and from past hurts, we all want to be that guy. But some of us just don't think we have the tools to do it. So we don't never want to fail when it comes to doing something for the woman you're with. We don't like to fail, so we're gonna try our best to save you. If we can't save you, then we'll just walk away because it will feel like the fight's too great or it's not worth it.
Well, that's great insight. I mean, it's true. Men are warriors. They're fighters. They want to fight. They're conquerors. And so you're saying sometimes men walk away not to be cruel, but because they feel like it's a battle they can't win.
Correct. It's like it's not. You know what? This woman needs more help than I can obviously provide for her.
Do you ever think that men sometimes give up too easily?
No, that's the early out. But I don't want to deal with this crazy broad. I'm out of here.
Why does she have to be crazy?
See, that's what we use as a term when a woman displays her emotions.
Then if we're not displaying our emotions, we're not women.
No. Let me finish, though. They're not displaying their emotions in a manner that's favorable to us.
The way that you like it. And some men like more emotional women. Some men like women that are more cold and just standoffish. Some men like women in the middle. There's a variation,
but as far
right?
as emotional during a trigger, that's the thing. That, man, look, wait a moment. The last guy used to slap her upside her head every time she said chop, and she said chop 3 times and shuddered. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not that guy.
That's just wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
She's up there crying and spazzing out. I'm not sure I want to.
But you're going to this extreme, right? You're going to that kind of real extreme. I think we're going to have to do a part 2 of this because we're running out of time. You're going to the extreme part of it, right? Where what if it's the cheating scenario? It's not the physical abuse, but she's learning how to trust again, and you're not getting that trust as quickly as maybe you would with someone else, or as she would have normally given it, because she needs to be able to take a little bit more time to make sure that you're safe.
Well, this would be a prime opportunity to discuss the nature of your relationship. What are you willing to put up with? How long? You could put it, most women like putting times on this, but guys be like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like you, but this is getting a little weird for me, we not smashing. I can respect you on that, but you got to give me some leeway. You got to not try to spaz out, or let me help you. If I can't help you, let me know. I can refer you to get some type of counseling or something, but you got to come 50-50 on this. If you're the one that has the issue and the person that you're with, you got to let them know, hey, I'm having a trigger. This is what happened. It's just another way to communicate, basically.
And you have to own it. You have to be mature enough. And if the person in on the male side for women, and we're going to have to close out with that because we're out of time, is if the man's not owning it, if you're trying to have calm conversations with him about his behavior, the way he's acting and treating you, if he's wigging out and you're gone for 25 minutes and he's called you 25 times in those 25 minutes because he's afraid that you're out cheating somewhere and, you're having lunch with your mom and he knows you're having lunch with your mom or something to that extent, you looking at that behavior and looking at whether or not it's something, is the overall thing worth it? And women, I have to say for us, we tend to be way more lenient with crazy stuff when it comes to men than men are with us. We put up with a lot more than what men oftentimes are.
No, that's not true. That is so not true.
I think so, but we're going to have to continue the conversation, and we're going to leave on that note. And I think we're going to have another continue the dialogue around this, the stay or walk away. All right. Well, listeners, you know what to do. Let us know what you think. Stay or walk away. Have you had to walk away? Have you walked away and realized you should have stayed? Have you stayed and realized you should have walked away? What say you? Let us know. Talk back to me. Thank you for listening. Thanks for joining us. JC, as always, it's been a pleasure having the conversation with you.
Thanks for having me.
And it's been insightful. All right. Well, thank you.
Right.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to Sister Talk Real Talk. I hope that today's show has informed, enlightened, encouraged, or challenged you. We're always on doing this thing called life with you throughout the week. You can catch us on Facebook and on Instagram at Sister Talk Real Talk and on Twitter at Sister Talk for Real. That's Sister Talk, the number 4, real. Let's continue the conversation throughout the week. You can catch all of our shows on our blog at sistertalkrealtalk.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Until then, keep it real.